So today we'll be looking at a topic, a very important topic in Dynamics 365 CRM and virtually across the Power Platform called calculated fields. So we'll be looking at this series, we'll be looking at a lot of field behaviors in CRM. And one of those very important field is the calculated field. Um, and we'll see how this works. So today we'll be looking at how to do a roll-up using the calculated field from the related table to the parent table. We will also be looking at how to map a data field from the parent table to a chart table. So if for any reason you want to do that, this video would help you to get that knowledge and see how to progress that. So from my screen here, you can see I've got two tables right here, the medications table and the patients table as well. So if for any reason we want to, so if I go in here, you can see the patient's um, data. You can see it has fields, first name, city, country, and all of those. And we also have the medications table as well in here. So if for any reason you want the field information of the city to appear on the medications table, we can see how that is being done. Okay, so first thing we need to do, we go to the medications table and create a field in there that we hold that value. So we can just call this patients city, just so we can capture the city, and we just need to change the behavior of that city, of that test field to be a calculated field. Now remember that the behavior of the calculated field will eventually be discontinued by Microsoft. Microsoft recommends using a formula data type for these sorts of things, but the calculated field behavior is still very much being used around, and it's very, very important, especially in some cases where you have to do some nested relationship. So we haven't calculated a single test field here. Just want to save that. Okay, for some reason, this is here. Let me just bring that up again. Patient city. Okay, so we got it here. Let's just reopen this. Okay, our information is open. So we need to take the parents table. So the city is available on the patient's table. And the field we are interested in is the city field. We just want to say if the city contains data, just something as simple as that. So that's the logic we're putting in here. So if the city field of the patient's table contains data, then the action we want to take is to set that field as the patient's uh, table. So we can pick that, and the way we can do this is just to hit the dot, and we can pick the city from here. So this is how we will do this as a logic. So basically, what we are saying is that if the patient's city field of the patient's table contains data, then we want to set the patient city of the medications table to be equals to that patient city, basically. We'll see how this works. Let's just close that off. So now that we have that, we just want to do a refresh, or we can open any of this record. So here you can see the city as York. So we can just create a related medication. Let's just create one, give it a name, medication. We can call this me. let's call this, yeah, consider we just want to set the expiration date because that's a required date, and then we'll save this. Okay, so one thing we have noticed here is that the patient city is not available on this form, so it's not appearing. So we would just come to the form here, main form, and then we add that field to the form because that is where our logic is being taken from, and that is where we are mapping this to. So we just want to take the patient city and put it somewhere around here. Okay, so we save and publish this. This could take a bit of time, so we'll just speed up the publishing. So now that we have added this, we go back to this, uh, just do a refresh, just to make sure that cache information, the caching has left the browser and the new details are available. See what comes up here. Cool. So the blessing, this is the patient, and you can see the city as York. So if we go to that medication that we just created for this user, you see the feed has been mapped. So this is one way of using a calculated field as a single line of text, to map information between uh, related tables. So another thing I want to also try here is the calculated Rollup-Field, basically. So for example, we've got so on this medications table, we have got a cost. So we can just bring that onto the form. Okay, so save and publish that so we can capture the cost of that medication. So that has been saved. So the next thing we want to do using a calculated rule of age, basically, if a patient has got 4 or 5 medications, we want to be able to roll up the total cost of the medications for that patient, you know. So and we want to capture this on the patient's information. So if we can go to the patient's table now and just create a field. We could call this field um, total med cost. We call it total med cost, and we can just call it a currency field to be fair, and the behavior we can call it a calculated or a roll-up field, basically. So we save this. So understand this. We've got a medication table where we are storing all our medication data and their cost. Now, on that particular patient, we want to see the cost of all the medications rolled up into the total cost for that particular patient. So that at a glance, when we look at the patient's record, we could see the cost, the total cost of the medication for that particular patient. So currently publishing, yeah, still getting the same error again. So we go back and just see if it's there. Yes, it's here. Open up that field, and then we do the mapping, basically. Okay, so the source data is patient. So the related table here is the medications patient. Good. And we want to add an aggregation or a filter, basically. So if the cost of the medication, contains data, so if the cost contains data, we want to sum the cost basically. So we want to sum the cost of all the this particular field, and roll it up to this particular patient's table. So we just save and close and see how that goes. Any issues we have, we try to sort it out along the way. So if I come back to the form, we just want to add that particular field on the form so we can see it via the patient's form itself. Yeah, yeah, it is. So we just pull this and probably put it somewhere here to be fair. Okay, so we just save and publish. And again, this could take some few minutes and we'll see how it works. Okay, so it has finished publishing, I believe. So let's just do a refresh here so we can get the latest updates. So we've got on the patient's table now, we've got our total cost appearing here. We have got our medications table related to that particular um, patient. So one thing we need to do here, you can see this is a medications associated view. So we can go to that view and just add that information there. So we can go to the view. So the associated view, we just want to add the cost so that we can see it at a glance. Cost information. So we can take that and just publish this because we don't want to be switching between. And then once again, we just do a refresh so we can see the latest updates. Just finished publishing, so we can see the name, the cost, and everything is appearing here. So we could let's just add one more. We can call this just put something there. We can just call this I don't know the name of the medication. We can just call it FIE. Yeah, just set expiration date and put a cost. See 150. Yeah, and then save and close. So here we can see this patient has got two medications associated to that profile. Both cost say 250 pounds. So if we look at this field and we do a refresh. So one thing about the calculated field is that it doesn't really give you that real-time update, right? You need to manually record the calculated logic right there on the button next to that field to give you the latest updates. Because the calculated field has got the hours that it has to run, like a recurrence where it runs and see you an update. Um, but yeah, we will look at that later on when we start looking at logics that we can use to update that field. So this, okay, so looks like our form is not giving us maximum behavior. Anyway, so this is the button I was talking about. So when you click on that, it gives you the option to recalculate. And when you recalculate, it just gives you the field is just for some reason the calculated field is not respecting these, even though I've got the medications associated to this. Um, one thing I could try, because this record already existed before I created a calculated field. I've seen scenarios like that during the course of my consultancy where these did not pick up. So let's just create a new one. Let's create a new patient. Report. So we can create a new patient record. Come on. It seems it's getting tougher whenever I got something to do like this. There are issues just happens to come back from different locations. Okay, so I've got a patient record created, and now we want to create a relationship of related medications. This reason is so slow today. I'm just going to refresh this. Yeah, the environment is pretty slow today. Okay, let's see. So it has come back up. Let me just create a new medication record. Second code is vitamin A, and just put an expiration date in there for the cost, 45 pounds. Probably add another one. Call this cough syrup. And yeah, just put the cost in here, 125 pounds. Let's save and close this as well. So if we go to this and just do a refresh, the environment is pretty slow today, unfortunately. Yeah. Anyways, let's just try and recalculate this. Okay, so you can see here now the the roll-up feed, the calculated roll-up feed has picked this up directly on the patient's record. So you can see the sum of 45 pounds and 805 pounds spent on medication gives you the roll-up calculated value of a 180 pounds. So directly in here, you get to see those value. In subsequent videos, when we start looking into CRM development using plugins or Power Automate flows or even JavaScript, we would show how we can automate these so this can give us a uh, real-time update and value. So thank you very much for this video.